if that did mean that like essentially assumed front ends by American targeting American retail had to be licensed, I think that could be reasonable. Which
Sam,
is that
if the question was, let's acknowledge that the email protocol will be permissionless as a protocol.
Yep.
But it was the law of the land in America that every email front-end provider required KYC from its users.
Yep.
Because under the justification that we do not want people sending information back and forth with terrorists.
Yep.
Where would you stand on that position?
Oh, I'd be strongly against that position.
Why?
Why would I be against it? Because I think it'd be like against freedom of speech. I think it'd be disenfranchising a lot of people. I think I would not trust in practice that it would do a good job. So I agree with you on all of that. I'm making a distinction here between, for instance, payments versus like derivatives contracts.
Why is Aave somehow different than email?
So, why is it different than email?
You argued so well and so passionately to not block email with licensing and KYC. I loved hearing that.
Yep.
That filled my soul with joy. Such good arguments. Why does that not apply to financial transactions?
So, why does it not apply to financial transactions? I think there are a few things here. So, first of all,
okay, here it is, the world's most bullish podcast, back to you. Finally, with all of the attendees. When I say all of the attendees, I mean all of the true attendees. That is Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man. That is Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ. That is Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and of course, Mrs. No Show, aka still pod number 73, No Show. Here we are.
What's the grand total of pods which she's been?
3. So less than 5%.
Miss No Show, if you're listening to the intro for some reason, try and make 5% by 100. Go on. That means attending 2 more before we hit 100.
Yeah, but I haven't been on a few. Got hit with a good old flu bug. I had a Halloween party surrounded by young kids and came out dead. So that put me under, but I'm back. I'm back now. It's the first time I've been to enjoy some whiskey for about at least 2 weeks. I've just been like, just in bed.
You missed the other one because I think you just couldn't be arsed or something. You're out having a meal at Starbucks with Miss No Show.
Yeah. What one was just a complete, I just totally lost track of the days. But last week was honest. Yeah.
So you had
lifestyle of the rich and famous. He doesn't even track the days.
We did have an emission. We did have an emission last week, so we missed one, unfortunately, for our listeners. But the week before we had misinformation part 5.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on anything from part 5? Learn anything?
No. I thought it was all right, actually.
We couldn't give the audience 2 back-to-back misinformations because that would just kill the show, other than us saying some thing that YouTube will probably cancel us for anyway. We'll cancel ourselves. We're like Facebook or Meta, as they now want to be called, of course. The only thing that really could kill Meta is Meta, and they're doing that.
Yeah, they're doing a damn good job, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are.
Someone else who's done a damn good job at killing themselves. Breaking news. FTX. So obviously we don't normally cover crypto news unless it's in Shitcoin Corner, but this one is huge. Like to actually headline the show really for this one, because Binance and FTX. So just so everyone knows, like Binance have just bought FTX. Obviously some due diligence still to go, but both CEOs have come out confirming the deal. It's all done. And the last couple of days, people have been very concerned about FTX. People have been tracking their wallets, tracking the price of their shitcoin, the FTT coin, and their wallets are very low. They were like 75 to 80% lower than they've ever been. And their shitcoin was plummeting. And it just all signs were pointing towards what the fuck's gone on. Have they done something? Have they lost all their money? What is going on? And then suddenly people started to have their withdrawals tapered. You couldn't take out more than $1,000 at a time. And obviously, this is one of the biggest exchanges in the world. Some of the biggest traders trade on there. They would have had hundreds of thousands, potentially millions. And they couldn't take it out. And so what it looks like is obviously it's all going to come out in the wash this. What looks like has happened. FTX have made a crucial error. They did lose all their money. And if things had just gone to its natural course, this would have been another Celsius, another Mt. Gox. It would have just gone bust, and customers would have lost everything that was on that exchange. Would have gone. Fiat and crypto and Bitcoin would have all been frozen for probably a decade. And at the end of that decade, you just got to hope there's some money left that hasn't been taken by the auditors and all the other big companies that were owed money. And hopefully the customers would have got some. But what seems to have happened here is the other biggest exchange, Binance, has come in and gone, you know what, we'll buy you out for a hugely discounted price, no doubt. And CZ has come in, swooped them up, and then they've straight away continued to allow withdrawals to happen. But then all in line with that, we've seen a 15, 20% drop in Bitcoin, and the whole of crypto has dumped as well, or the shitcoins have dumped. So what looks like happened there is Binance have had to liquidate a load of assets to get them over to FTX and then give them to customers. And then probably customers are then just dumping it once they get it to get it off FTX because they're still shitting themselves. But it's just obviously causing waves. This is two of the biggest exchanges. These are the number 1 and 2. This is like Microsoft and Apple going head to head in the laptop space and the computing space, and one of them going bust. And then in an hour, the other one's bought the other. It's just, it's nuts.
It is crazy. And I don't know, obviously we don't know what's gone on behind the scenes, but have they over leveraged themselves? Because FTX was spending money like there was no tomorrow. Let me just give you a little bit of an overview of this. They bought the Miami Heat stadium in terms of the NBA team and renamed it the FTX Stadium in a 20-year deal. They also bought the naming rights for an esports organization called TSM in a 10-year, $210 million naming rights deal. And again, so when things were going good, they were just hemorrhaging money left, right, and center.
It is a bit like a fiat organization. So we're just talking before we came on air about the FTX token, so FTT. That's the right one, isn't it? So we look today, and this is evidently when some kind of dip or liquidation first happened at 2:40 this morning. It went from 21.96 suddenly down to 18.89. I mean, it's kind of like gone up and down throughout the day. I'm guessing where rumors happened. I mean, it had a little bit of a peak where it hit 19. I mean, it's gone down to $3.14. So, that's when the announcements started happening, but basically Binance are buying FTX and basically the shitcoin is no more because it is fiat, isn't it? It's literally, we're going to print money out of nowhere with this shit token, which you can't use for anything, but somehow people think it's valuable.
Yeah.
And it's even more fiat because how are they buying this out? Who's bailing them out? It's another shitcoin scammer who've printed money out of thin air because Binance have their own Binance coin. So they're using the bulk of their profits from that are being used to fund FTX. So it's more made up internet money saving this company. So what will end up happening is that everyone folds into Binance in the end. But then once Binance goes down, there's no one left. and the shitcoin market just implodes. It's done.
Yeah.
FTX would have gone down if literally if Binance didn't exist. No one else was big enough to save them.
And you'd end up with kind of like more peer-to-peer then on things like Bitcoin.
You end up with a lot of small exchanges that were Bitcoin only, and
putting this into perspective for what some people will term as the real world, it's like Argentina with their shitcoin by the Argentina peso. Basically, they printed too much and they're going out of business, and they're being bailed out by the IMF, aka the USA, with their shitcoin, which is printed out of thin air as well. So it's ridiculous that comparison is so accurate.
Yeah. All shitcoins will fold into Binance, and all fiat coins will fold into the US dollar. And then eventually those two fall and everything folds into Bitcoin. That's the natural order of things. It's just that they all need to domino into each other first, because they think they're right. They just need to be proven wrong. Then we just need them all dead. They all need to die before they finally accept that, oh, the answer was sat there the entire fucking time, wasn't it? It's Bitcoin. Whoops.
Yeah.
So you're not feeling very bearish at the moment?
No, super bullish. This is just another example, isn't it? If these shitcoins meant anything, they wouldn't go up. They wouldn't go up in smoke like this. But we know that the second you centralize power around a currency, it goes off the rails. The humans involved will get greedy, and they'll do deals like you just mentioned there. So never look around those 20-year deals to sponsor this and X and Y and Z. And those commitments, those payments would have been coming out every month. And then his shitcoin goes down by 80, 90%. And suddenly he realizes he can't make the bills, and he needs to start dipping into customer funds. And it all just starts to go wrong. And what happened there? What did the protocol go wrong? Did the shitcoin code go wrong? No, the human that controls the coin went wrong. That's what happened.
But kind of pulling back there, you said when you center around a currency, I'd say that it's the other way around. When you center away from a currency, and basically your needs dictate what the currency does rather than the currency dictating what your needs can do. I'd say that you said it the wrong way.
Oh, I just meant centralization. I mean,
yeah, exactly. That's what. Yeah, so I'm kind of going. When you get something which is centralized, which you can control, it's human instinct to take the piss, pretty much.
Yeah. And it will either happen, and this is the classic, or either happen because of conspiracy or incompetence. So this might be a combo. Because on Celsius' side, and I think Celsius might have been actually to be fair, if you actually look at FTX, Celsius, and probably Mt. Gox, they were all probably incompetence. They actually probably weren't too much greed and stealing related. You've got things like Quadriga. I don't think so. Quadriga was 100%. That was just theft, like outright theft. But the other three, it's like I actually think they were trying to build businesses, got a bit over bullish, and then got wrecked. And they're like, "Oh shit, lost all our customers' money."
Yeah, but you build it.
I don't really think that there was anything malicious from FTX. They were given to charities, because I remember SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, talking about it. Obviously, doing stuff in the community because they were based in Miami, and just probably over leverage way too much and expected, as classic humans do in terms of our flaws, that the good times would roll a lot longer than the bad times, and this crypto winter has really hurt them. But they were unable to see that they needed to be putting things to the side, such as some form of savings, as opposed to leveraging. But that may be a flaw in them, because that's how they got to where they were. They were doing arbitrage in terms of buying from one exchange and selling on another at various different times. So it's in their DNA to leverage and to gamble in a way with the markets. And then this time they've come up.
Yeah, but they were pissing money on stadiums. That's not just they were unlucky. That was, you're taking the money which you needed to guarantee to pay your mortgage, and you bought a fucking Lamborghini with it when you knew.
Maybe they were doing that to bring in the masses.
Yeah.
And so I get it, but it might not have been a malicious thing. They were seeing buying the FTX stadium in their home city of Miami as we want to give back to the people and for the people to trust us. Kind of like back in the day as your local bank, but your local exchange. And seeing that name would have brought loyalty to the brand. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but
I just think it's just stupid incompetence playing around with, and I think with the like obviously we've got competence about the company, but we've also got a lesson around shitcoins again, which is what we always come back to. What is the point of these coins? Like, they're just gambling. It's literally betting on, I don't know, like Walsall to beat Spurs in the cup or something. It's a low chance, but you're going to bet on it because someone made big once. But then kind of like, what function has this token got? Oh, it's good technology, but is that technology actually good enough to be a currency? Does it hit the requirements? And it's usually no. And that,
doesn't do anything in real world. Can you, for any single shitcoin, have a look at what it says in whatever white paper or description, and then try and do that thing. And nearly every single one, I'd probably say 100% of them, you can't do the thing. Bitcoin's the only one. Bitcoin just says it's money. You can go, and it's censorship resistant, peer-to-peer. You send it to anyone in the world whenever you want. Yeah, you can.
Well, most of them are built on top of Ethereum, aren't they? And as Saifedean says, Ethereum is a mother arsehole of all shitcoins.
Yeah, exactly. That's where most of them come from. Yeah, and obviously the one that's gone pop here is, one of the Ethereum challengers, which was the FTX token. Binance have got their own token. They're all spewing out shit tons of shitcoins out from their arseholes as well. And but this is one of the big motherships that's just gone up. It's dead. So we've still got the big Binance one, you've still got the big Ethereum one, but we know where they're going. They're going to implode. It's not if, it's when. But do you want to move on to some Bitcoin news? Because it was
So it's last week, and obviously because we weren't on air last week, we've got a story about Happy Bitcoin White Paper Day, and everyone's favorite Satoshi getting done by Snowden. So I think, we've actually got a story after this which goes through some of the more famous ones. But on what date was the Bitcoin White Paper Day?
It's 31st of October. It's Halloween.
So Edward Snowden posted 14 years ago today, yet Satoshi remains anonymous. Remarkable. Dr. Craig S. Wright. I was never anonymous, you traitorous scum. And then Edward Snowden, that's a point, brother. Remember 2 weeks ago when the court affirmed that Hodlnaut calling you a pathetic scammer, cringe, clearly mentally ill, and repeatedly a fraud was A-OK, and ordered you to pay like $348,257. Lamal, welcome to law.
And that reply is so good because it's so mean, especially that ending. I don't know if you guys get that, like Lamal, welcome to law, because that was what Craig Wright used to say all the time to us Bitcoiners. He's like, I'm going to sue you and it's going to be welcome to law. Like, I'm going to say that when I beat you in court. And now he's losing in court. So everyone's just using his own line back at him going, welcome to law, Craig. Fuck off.
But it's just, he sets himself up every single time to get destroyed, doesn't he?
Yeah. He was literally in court. I've watched some of his testimony, and he was saying, he was playing the victim, like, it affected me. I have autism. It affected my family. I was getting bullied online. And there's people going, like, reading his own tweets back at him, and it was like this, like, I've never been anonymous, you traitorous scum. And they're like, is that polite? Isn't that the type of trolling that you're accusing Bitcoin Twitter of doing to you? Aren't you a troll, Craig Wright? And he just goes, no, I just do it in response to when people attack me. And then he'll refer to some random tweet that was from 4 years ago.
So we had a story on 2 weeks ago about Craig Wright and Hodlnaut. And obviously what we could have done was with a bit more of a background from you, because myself and Sir Neverlook being relatively new to the space, haven't come across Craig Wright too much. But, you know, going into his comments here, I was a never anonymous, you traitorous scum. So he's calling Edward Snowden traitorous scum. And you kind of go, well, Bitcoin is about decentralizing, moving the money away from the government, so the government doesn't have control. So what did Edward Snowden did? He alerted the whole of the US and the world to how much surveillance the US were doing illegally to its people. So he was showing, he was in essence being a traitor to the government, but he was going to the people and actually showing his loyalty to who he was serving. So it's basically like, you know, if you invented Bitcoin with its principles, you would never call Edward Snowden a traitor.
No, he's a whistleblower.
Yeah,
he's the ultimate patriot. But when you're that much of a patriot that you embarrass the upper government, then they switch the tables on you and call you a traitor. So he's up to run. And yeah, and obviously you've got. I literally only posted this because you sent this to me, and we needed the link last week. You sent this when I won for the pod. And it's just a whole massive image of Craig Wright's cell phones where he said one thing, got into arguments with various people on Twitter. And it looks like there's numerous people talking to Craig online, knowing what Satoshi's comments have been about certain topics, got Craig to talk about them on Twitter, have him disagree with them, but they had the Satoshi argument and then just link Satoshi's quote straight after. And I think there's about 12 examples or 8 examples here.
There's things like he's saying, I am a lawyer in, when was it, 2010. And it says law degree obtained 2008. Then it goes back to Satoshi email in 2009 saying, I am not a lawyer.
It should be just thinking for some people that might not be familiar with who Craig Wright is. This guy has claimed on multiple occasions that he is Satoshi Nakamoto and the creator of Bitcoin. Just in case, you know, you're tuning in to our podcast for the first time, Bitcoin is new to you, because me being me, I've been orange pilling everybody, and hopefully we've got some new listeners as well as existing listeners.
Nice. But it's just Craig Wright. It's not just the fact that he is a scammer. It's also that he comes across very fucking stupid as well.
Yeah.
Like he's literally,
definitely.
you know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 owns there, where it's literally he's gone against what he's claiming to be. Things like the white paper, emails, etc., which are all available all over the place online. And he's he just seems like an absolute idiot.
Yeah. And I've got the 10th one. The 10th one is the one that, like, it was before this, which is more detailed. But like he just basically he pulled out, like, this is years and years and years ago. He pulled out this old tattered copy of the white paper, and it had like coffee stains on it and all sorts. It looked like it was freaking 20 years old. And everyone's like, what? Like Bitcoin at the time was, I don't know, how old is Bitcoin now?
14 years, 13 years. It's going to be 14 in January.
Yeah, that's the one. And then, so this is probably about 5 years ago. It's an old tatty copy of the white paper. It looked 50 years old, this bit of paper. And you're like, well, it should be 10. And he took photos of it and went, here it is. This is proof. And it had a date on it, 2007. And you go, oh wow, 2007, like the white paper wasn't written to 2008. But obviously anyone can type a date on a bit of paper, right? But then straight away, Adam Back had a comment straight below it. And it was, he looked at the white paper, and it was the exact white paper that is being released now. And he went, Craig, Satoshi asked for my comments to that white paper, and I made some grammatical and tiny grammar and like spelling mistake alterations to that white paper. How has your version from 2 years before got my comments in that I only made about 2 weeks before Satoshi put it live? And Craig's like, you're lying, you're a scammer. And he's like, well, I'll show my version if you want, because I got the emails you did. Like, and he said, and Adam was like, it isn't just my comments either. Satoshi sent it to about a dozen of us. We all made small amends. Why have you got the final version 2 years ago. You should have the unedited, uncommented on version from 2 years ago if that was really unoriginal. You just go, oh shit! Like he literally printed it out and put some coffee on it and went, "Look, it's really old." It's like we're not in freaking high school, dude. What is
Primary
he?
school.
Trying to age, trying to pretend it's from like 1066 and putting rubbing it with coffee and coffee beans and stuff.
Classic. You've not done your homework.
At this point, I can't. It's only because he's got these court cases that he's even slightly relevant again. He kind of went for 5 years and has kind of come back again a little bit. But
I was going to say, how is he going to come back from his court case? Because it looks like he's getting decimated.
He's got a rich daddy. He's got Calvin Ayre. It went off to do BSV with him. He's a billionaire, so he's getting funded by him.
Okay. Yeah, let's not talk about him too much, give him any more airtime than he actually deserves.
Nah, from zero to hero. We got Jack Mallers back on the pod.
There we go. Let's talk about Jack. I've got a lot of time for Jack, but I don't really see much about him. He was quite prominent with the last Bitcoin event in Bitcoin 2021 when he talked about bringing Strike to the market. But I don't know.
I think he just disappears and gets on with it. I think he's just an innovator, isn't he? Yeah. Like he's looking at what he can take to the next stage. When he comes back, he doesn't talk about it. He goes and does it, comes back and goes, look what I've done. And everyone goes, fuck me, how old are you? 27? When I was 27.
Right? You haven't heard from him for a year, and look what he's done now. He's gone and integrated Strike directly into Twitter.
He was talking about this on one of the events, because this isn't correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't so much doing it across Twitter, it's doing it across a webcam. And then doing an instant
for a webcam. No, it's just for Twitter.
He's doing it on Twitter Spaces, isn't it? So is someone holding up to
No, he's tipping. He's tipping someone, isn't he? I think you've got I'm sure in the video he tips someone.
Oh yeah, I'm wrong, sorry. Yeah, but yeah, he's integrated Strike into Twitter.
I think they're on a Zoom call or something. Or in space,
I mistook one of the screens at the end. So on this, he's using the Bitcoin network in order to do a cash remittance with El Salvador, isn't he?
Yeah. What's really unique about it really is the fact that it is a non-custodial wallet as well at both ends. He isn't doing a Bitcoin transaction within Twitter. He has his Moon wallet, which is hosted by his own Lightning node that will be probably just sat behind him. He's sending that through the Twitter network to a user on Twitter. It's then going through Twitter onto their Moon wallet, which is non-custodial as well in El Salvador. So you have just moved what he moved $10, but he could have moved 10 cents. He could have moved 1 cent because Lightning's obviously they're virtually free for transactions. It went real time, 100% settlement. And you didn't need to know any internet addresses. There was no invoices. Twitter did the hard, heavy lifting in the middle. They just gave us, when you go to tip a person on Twitter, it comes up with a few options. You type in how much Bitcoin you want to send. You just bash it and it went. As we were saying before about uncensorship, censorship resisting peer-to-peer money. And we're talking, but then always the problem has been usability. Trying to get your wallet out there. How do you accept a Lightning transaction? You have to kind of copy and paste a long invoice or get a QR code out there. Now you can do it on Lightning super easy, or do it on Twitter just through this. And obviously people like Jack. And the reason why that works in the background is the person doing the heavy lifting and making Twitter look so good is Strike. It's his company.
Didn't he show something along these lines at one of the Bitcoin events, because he was launching into certain stores, basically move away from Visa, because Visa, what is it, like a credit card, you're being charged, what is it?
It was like 3% or 3.5%.
I want to say it's more for a credit card, and I want to say for a debit card, it's like 3%. But anyway,
yeah, well, with Visa and MasterCard, you're charged, or the merchant is charged a percentage each time that the consumer makes a purchase, but he integrated it into the POS system.
Yeah, and then but even with a debit card, you're being charged a percentage, just not as high as a credit card. And it's eliminating that. And then in this use case, it's eliminating people like Western Union. So Western Union, they charge, is it 20-30% or something for overseas remittances?
Good 20%. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is phenomenal.
If again, I think we said it when we were looking back at the Bitcoin 2021 Miami event, that the Western Unions and the MoneyGrams of this world, if they don't fall and collapse into Bitcoin in some way, shape, or form, they're going to be redundant, and they are going to be the blockbusters of the cryptocurrency worlds, because they could see it coming and they could adapt it because they've got their user base right now. So they could either partner with a firm of some sort, or equally lower their fees and then adopt the technology, but they haven't. Just going back to what you were saying as well, with Jack Mallers integrating Strike into Twitter, that's now given him a customer base of just under 400 million users, just like that.
But I suppose this is my question with the Strike technology. He doesn't seem to be charging anything.
No, he's not.
So at some point, he's got to start charging. It doesn't have to be massive, but, literally, say Visa charge, what is it, 5% for a credit card, and what is it, 2% or 3% for a debit card, and literally with his costs being negligible, he could charge like 0.1%. People would be happy.
Yeah. Well, I guess, first of all, you've got to remember that this is groundbreaking technology, because the Visa and the MasterCard network is really, really old. Like we're talking 1970s technology that hasn't changed because they had a monopoly. I remember reading about it. And so the fact that there is a new competitor in town that can do it faster and cheaper, you never know. The play may be that they buy it so that they continue to stay relevant, and therefore he doesn't need to charge anything because he'll just take the back end money from the sale of it. Who knows?
Yeah, I do agree though. I think I agree with his overall thesis that there's no point trying to build a business model around whatever percent on the fees, because the fees is going to trend to zero. It's going to be building the business model around something else in Bitcoin, because the fees are going to be zero. We use Lightning, so it's eventually everyone's going to have a Lightning wallet, and everyone's going to transact. Everyone's going to be connected, and all the middlemen are going to be largely gone anyway. But he does at the moment. He's surviving off VC funding, because Jack is probably the most investable guy in Bitcoin by a long distance. All the VCs, and there's a lot of Bitcoiners just throwing money at him, going, I want to be part of this journey because you're clearly a legend. So he's not worried about profit whatsoever, but I would like him to also. But I think at the moment, he's just going, you know what, first 10 years, build out the infrastructure. Maybe next 10, start looking for a business model. And he's got the luxury to do that because he's such a compelling and a kind of charismatic guy, and clearly it works very hard to execute on these types of things. So we got another innovation coming up.
We
Bolt
do.
12.
Yeah.
Bolt
I've
12.
never come across this, by the way.
No, I didn't, unless whoever put this in the notes, that's how I saw this.
It was me. So I've been trying to read more and more about Lightning to understand some of the nuances and technicalities of Lightning. And I saw this in my feed, so it got my interest, because we're on Bolt 11 at the moment. So Bolt 11 is invoices can only be used once. They can be used to request payments rather than offer a payment, whereas Bolt 12 it's reusable invoices. So examples being subscriptions, charity pages, and you can also offer a payment through it as well. So it's a bit of an upgrade. So you've got it's not only like a one-way street now, it's multiple, so you can use it for different purposes. And I'm guessing you purpose a payment, but I don't really know the detail on this one.
I think it's worthwhile going through or just picking out the key things off the thread, because I was reading the thread and just, the basics of what Bolt is, which is the basis of Lightning technology, BOLT. And for those, again, that aren't familiar with what the Lightning Network is, it's the killer app that you're going to say to anybody that tries to tell you that Bitcoin can't scale. Because guess what, motherfuckers, it's here. And it has been here since around 2017.
The best way to talk about Lightning is looking at the gold standard when you had gold-backed pieces of paper. So gold was not moved in the vault. The paper was used as IOU. And it's the same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a bit too chunky to move on every single transaction. So they invented the Lightning Network, which was always the intention from the start. And it's basically a Visa network. So your gold is in the vault, being your Bitcoin, and Lightning is your Visa, which can move around loads of transactions.
Yeah.
But it's improving the capabilities of Lightning. So moving it from being just, you can, rather than just offer a payment, you can request payment. Sorry, you can offer a payment rather than just request a payment, and you can do subscriptions, ATMs, private refunds, charity pages, and everything else. So it's adding in all the options to make it a more flexible payments network.
Yeah, this is everything that all the shitcoiners said was impossible to do on Bitcoin. This is what they said you needed smart contracts to do. They said that the Bitcoin network was too simple. You could just send and receive. You couldn't do a smart contract like, oh, I'm going to pay you 1,000 sats, but I want that to recur every month. Or maybe I send you 20,000 sats, and then the next 6 months you send me 10,000. Whatever kind of deal you set up. And the shitcoiners' argument was always, you need Ethereum to do that, because you can code that type of stuff into Ethereum. You can write a smart contract. They can do whatever you want. The complexity is all down to you. And all Bitcoiners went, you do not put that in the core protocol layer. It will bloat it, make it too complicated, put too much risk in for hacking, for something to go wrong. The core protocol layer needs to be simple. It needs to be Bitcoin, as Satoshi wrote it. Leave it the fuck alone. Layer 2 is where we scale it and build in all these other financial tips and tricks. And this is what Lightning's now doing. It's removed all the fees. It's put all the scalability up through the roof. And now we're getting things like subscriptions. And what's also good on it, refunds, like chargebacks. You can actually, and this is all the stuff that they went, you can't do it on Bitcoin. You can't give a refund in Bitcoin. But no, you can't on the base layer, not very easily. No, it has to be another transaction, and you have to find out their address, and maybe you're invading their privacy by asking for where their address is. It's all hard, all fees, moan. You're like, wait, layer 2 and Lightning will fix this stuff. We're just not there yet because it's fucking early. And in reality, we don't even need it because people aren't using Lightning at scale yet. We're still in the hoarding stage. People should be stacking sats, not necessarily spending sats too often right now.
Just to talk about Ethereum, so using Ethereum as a comparison there. So with Ethereum, they can code in the various different uses. What's the gas? Are the gas fees still exceptionally high on Ethereum?
Yeah.
So it's still a nothing.
Yeah, there's not, unless you probably go down on a really random shitcoin that no one uses, they couldn't compete on fees. And if you're going to go use this really random shitcoin, good luck getting someone to exchange that shitcoin with you. So Bitcoin obviously has the advantage of not only is it the most well-known asset that's the most likely for you to get an exchange partner to do the deal with, it's also the cheapest and fastest and most secure. So before, the only excuse was you can't do this with Bitcoin unless you set up almost like your own. You could write a little bot to do this yourself. You could write a little bot to go, oh, if I want to send you a subscription, I will code it myself to send you £10 of Bitcoin, say, every month. But you can't make me. And that's the problem. You can't send me the contract, what I agree to. This changes that now. This allows you as a business to go, I want to send out a lot of £10 a month contracts to people to sign up for my service. And they just click a button, and then I take £10 of Bitcoin every month from them. This enables that now. Because before you couldn't, no one could take from a wallet. You'd need the person with the keys. This kind of goes, I'm going to give kind of almost like leave the door slightly open.
Yeah.
And that £10 a month is allowed to be taken. So to be fair, this actually does open up security risk, because who knows? Could someone hack that smart contract and go, oh, I'm not going to take a tenner, I'm going to take 10 million?
And how do you stop that?
Yeah, well, we don't be first to use this. That would be my advice, because as we've seen on the shitcoins, every time they've written a smart contract like this, someone has figured out a way to get a random way of paying £10 here, there, everywhere, and they all end up in his pot. So this is why you don't do it on the base layer, you do it in Lightning. So if Bolt 12, say, has a big bug in it and subscriptions end up losing all the money in Lightning, it's just people's play money and Lightning that got taken, isn't it? The base layer is not hacked. Nothing went wrong here. Everyone's life savings is still good. We made a mistake up here.
Yeah.
So you can correct it and go again. But in shitcoin land, they do this on the base layer in Ethereum, which is why an example is the DAO, right? They had some weird thing where everyone paid into the DAO. You could submit projects, and if you got voted enough, you would get paid out of the DAO to fund your project. But someone managed to gain that, where they got all the projects to fund their project, and then they just took the money out the side. So that's an example of a smart contract going completely wrong. And obviously they rolled back the chain, had to do a load of stuff for that. So this is obviously worst case scenario for Bolt 12, but it's a very real risk. If this was happening on the base layer of Bitcoin, I would be terrified. And I would be and Bitcoin Twitter would be alive with fuck no. There would be no chance that Bitcoin would let this go live on the base chain. But in Lightning, that's the place to experiment. Anyone who wants to use Bolt 12, go use it. Go use it for a subscription, and it probably will have problems in the early days, but they'll get ironed out, and subscriptions will just start ticking over using Lightning, and it'll be.
So is this kind of thing for OnlyFans?
Yeah. That's a subscription service.
What I think is key, and it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, is the fact is we are so new into this space, and people expect everything to be all ironed out and to be pretty and working, whereas, as we said, it's only 13 years old. Yeah, the technology hasn't changed, and it's working and it's doing its thing over here, but as we've seen, exchanges are making mistakes in real time, and the people are experiencing this as well. The Lightning Network isn't fully up and running and ready to mass scale and mass adoption yet. We are still finding out new ways in which we can use the technology for benefit to everybody. So there's so much more to come. But everybody expects it to be already ready and pretty, like the Apples or the IBMs and the Microsofts and the Metas of this world, which deliver utility to us each and every day, and we use it seamlessly. It's not there just yet, peeps.
Yeah, we are building literally the entire financial system again. So
yeah,
it's
in real time.
So Satoshi invented the money, but then all the application layers that need to get it's like the whole final mile problem, isn't it? To get it into the hands of every single person for every single use case, it's tough. That's what's going to take literally decades to get done. But already, in the time I've been in Bitcoin, it is already crazily easier. Literally, I know I bore people probably even saying it, but when I was sending money to Estonia, it's disappearing for 2 weeks, popping up, buying some Bitcoin, sending it to my ledger, and it taking 3 days to process. Now I could fire up an app on my phone, deposit, buy, send, have it all done within 5 minutes, and it's just a piece of piss. And there's a million books to read, a million great YouTube channels, a million great podcasts. None of this existed 6 years ago. So the progress we've made is huge. And then, people like Jack Mallers doing loads. You've got Jack Dorsey doing loads. You've got this Bolt 12 thing going along. It's only going to keep going. It's just, people don't know how lucky they've got it. They might think it's still difficult now, but this is the best it's ever been in Bitcoin.
I hope somebody is recording all of this as well, because that is quite, I don't know, it's quite pleasing to me, the nostalgia, because I was in the similar position as you, sending money to Estonia thinking, oh, fuck, what's crazy Mr. Orlin told me to go and do, and I've done it because I'm like, oh, go on then. He sounds like he knows what he's saying, but ultimately, I think it would make such a good documentary, or again, a really good book of the real hardships of where we've come from in the timeline in Bitcoin, of what needed to be done, and all of these, I will call them fuck ups, of the Mt. Goxes and the
all the shit coins, all the distractions.
Exactly. The
FUD from the government. You've got a massive timeline. It would be quite interesting if someone did document all of that and brought it together, because it's there in bits across numerous different books.
And it's all, as you say, a distraction, because ultimately we know that it's not going to harm it, and it hasn't harmed it, but yet people still try nonetheless to.
It's died 12 times.
Bring in this regulation. Yeah,
Bitcoin has died about 12 times. It's just like the Undertaker; it keeps on coming back.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think Bitcoin has died 380 odd times. There's a website that stores every time Bitcoin dies. I think it is Bitcoin. No, I think just type in how many times did Bitcoin die, because there's always an article about once a week. 400 plus 464 times Bitcoin has died.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. Is it up there with the US debt clock?
It should be, yeah. The latest one was October 19th.
Okay. What happened on October 19th?
Yeah, people still in crypto are like kamikaze. And then the oldest death is 2010, December 15th, 2010. Why Bitcoin can't be a currency. So it first died in 2010. And then the most recent death was about a month ago, October 19th.
And 460 odd in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in reality, like every single one of these things, all it does really, it's like any good kind of almost like training for a fight. It's just learning. Everything is just I didn't know I was weak in that area. So you train that area, right? It's just, and you become an all-round like better fighter because you've had every single weakness tested. You're not just in this nice bubble where you think you're freaking Tyson Fury, but you never had a fucking fight. You've never had a sparring session. And you go out and you fight the local guy and you get plastered. You go, what the fuck happened there? It's because you've never come out your comfort zone. You're surrounded by yes men. Bitcoin has been out there fighting heavyweights since day one. And no one could really defend it other than the miners and Bitcoiners, but there was none of them at the beginning. And now there's hundreds of thousands, probably millions, I would guess right now. And we're all just there running a node, holding Bitcoin, converting fiat into Bitcoin, and we're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And every single attack, the attacks keep getting bigger. We know like the big bear moth is going to be the US dollar. That's going to be our Tyson Fury.
The final boss.
Unification of all the belts. That's the one. And we're going to need, we might lose that fight right now. So we need a few Bill Bitcoiners. That's why we're here, trying to get some more Bitcoiners to convert.
Hey, we're working our way through the rankings on that one. Yeah.
I'm going through the world's longest orange pilling with a socialist at the moment. which must be about a good year in now.
Good luck
and
with that.
he messaged me about FTT token drop through the floor, and I said, yeah, they've gone broke and they're being bought by Binance. Bitcoin keeps dropping as well. I said, well, it looks like Binance has sold some to raise collateral. It's dropped 2K today, hasn't it? Almost straight 1 point. Yeah, that'll be Binance plus people cashing out of FTX just in case. When is it meant to rebound? Blah, blah, blah. I said it tends to trend in 4 years. It's never been through a recession till now. But the most recent halving didn't cause an increase, did it? I said it boomed. I don't think he understands what a halving is. So yeah, but I will eventually orange pill him. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but like, I know you said it's the longest orange pilling of all time, but man, like for me to get you guys in, it probably took 3 years.
I was going to say you didn't even succeed. It was because I like some memes on Safer.
Well, I know. I'm still counting that. I know you don't want to count it, but I tried for a year and then just went, okay, I'm not even going to say it now, but every question you ask me is buy Bitcoin, but then I'll just answer. And the buy Bitcoin bit is just already said. I just agreed to not be the fucking Bitcoin bro because...
Does it pain you that you didn't even get Sir Neverlook in?
No, well, it pains him, I would imagine. Like, it doesn't pain me. I'm sure it pains you. I was doing it from the goodness of my heart. I didn't give a fuck whether you in or not, really. I was just trying to spread the word, and you guys were resisting me.
It pains me because I look back and I just think like, he's lost his mind. Everything that he says, what day of the week is it? Just buy Bitcoin. like literally, like, do you want to go for food this evening? Just buy Bitcoin. Like every response was just buy Bitcoin.
But it's not until you've got a number of the anchors can you truly comprehend Bitcoin. Correct. And I think it's if you're missing one of these anchors, you just don't get it. It literally could just be. It could be truly understanding money and inflation, which was literally what I was missing. I knew all the Bitcoin bits, but I went, oh, it's really cool. It's a good technology. Literally, I was like that woman on the stage at the Amsterdam Bitcoin conference. It's a good technology. I knew some of the talking points, but I didn't understand the money part and the inflation bit. I just knew
also as well. I would say maybe I was more resistant because the times that he was just saying, just buy Bitcoin, I was just like, nah. I'm just rebelling against it in a way. So even though it was trying to tell me for the good, from the goodness of your heart, to be like, yeah, I'm actually trying to help you, that inadvertently was just like a parent to a child. You're trying to help them, and they're rebelling and doing the complete opposite.
I just tell everyone about inflation and about money. Literally, I don't even talk about Bitcoin to them. Like, I remember I was talking to someone, it was like another dad at a soft play, and literally it was just talking about the state of money. I didn't even go on to Bitcoin. I talked about the need for a sound money and never brought up Bitcoin. But then he's trying to argue that we didn't need a sound money and that inflation was good for growth. And it's just like, I was just kind of going, I ripped every point apart with his, but it's just, he didn't understand the basics and he just took the government line.
Yeah, the problem is,
I said, go on.
Obviously, like you guys, like we were literally in investment chats. Like we knew each other for a decade. We trusted each other. We followed each other on various financial decisions.
Yeah.
Then when Bitcoin came along, you guys you went, nah. You went, nah, you've gone too far on this one.
He's gone too far.
And obviously I've got the receipts, haven't I? I've given you it. Well, I didn't just go number go opera. Like I wasn't just a moon boy. I was going, money is broken. This is the answer. Please convert, because this is going to the moon and your fiat is going to zero. Like, you need to. But I think it just comes across as, oh, you've already made the decision. So you're just trying to justify to us that you've made the right decision. And you want us to come in after, because now it's already gone up 30%, and you want us to buy your bags. And it's the ego, I think, starts to come in. And I think, oh, and how did you figure this out first as well? Like, I've looked at Bitcoin before and I dismissed it. And I was right when I dismissed it. So I'm not looking at it again. And I think there's so much of that. There's so much of that ego in there. And at the moment now, I still have no clue really how to orange pill someone. I've gone through various different kind of thought processes on all this. I think everyone is so different. I think the fiat propaganda is so fucking strong that almost the more people understand about money, I've realized I've got some accountant type of like dads and friends and kind of father-in-laws, and it's just they're the toughest because they think they really understand money,
but they don't,
and like inflation. And you're like, oh, you're really fucked because I've got to take you back 20 spots just to get to zero.
You've got to go,
a lot of people are on zero going, inflation's fine, right? 2 or 3% inflation's fine, right? And you got to go, no, it's not. Why do you agree to have 3% of your money stolen every year by the government? You go, what? We are. You didn't like that, did you? Because that's what's happening. And then you can kind of start walking them back from zero closer to Bitcoin. But I genuinely think no matter who you're trying to orange pill, it takes years. I've
got a tactic that I'm about to proceed with. So my mum had basically not an emergency, but she said there was something wrong with the car and it's cost her like 600 quid. So she paid it. But I said, oh, do you know what? Don't worry. I'll give you the money for it. So she was just like, no, you don't need to do that. But I said, no, here's the money. And she said, right, okay, well, if I take the money from you, obviously I'll give it you back. So I'm going to buy her Bitcoin with it. But I'm buying her a ledger with Bitcoin and then doing it that way. And then letting her watch the money go up, especially in a time right now.
It's get her a ledger, and it's like wrapped up in a nice little box. The ledger and the Bitcoin standard. Oof.
Oof. You're right. I like that. Okay, so yeah, I'll put that on there as well.
Yeah, so be careful about giving people ledgers so that they don't know what they're doing. Because obviously I've done that one as well, but I wouldn't count that as orange pilling until they are a Bitcoiner, right? Like, so I think it's nice to do that to friends and family, start stacking for them, and then let them see the fruits of their labor. But I still think it's going to take them years to really go, what is this thing? Why is that one going up? Why is this one going down?
Will they just lose it?
Yeah, with ledgers, I definitely, taking custody is only good if they know what the fuck they're doing. And if they'll leave that USB on their desk and they'll throw it out. They'll think it's an old USB from work with a file in it, and they won't know that those sats that you worked hard and gave them, they'll just throw it away, or they'll leave their 24 words lying around. It's very dangerous. If you're going to do it to someone that isn't fully orange pilled yet and doesn't know what they're doing, hold that ledger for them and go show it to them and show it them working and go, you can look after this if you want. And if you do give it to them, make sure you don't leave the 24 words with them and you take them.
You could literally give them the Bitcoin address and say, I'm going to hold this ledger so you don't lose it because I know where to keep it safe. But I'm going to keep this, and I put this amount, it's on this address, and this is the Bitcoin value.
We can go on Blockfolio and just go on Blockfolio and just add a fake amount of Bitcoin in there. Just add the sats into Blockfolio. Because you don't need, the Bitcoin doesn't have to be behind it, does it? You just add a fake balance. But just so you know, they won't check it. Just so you know, I've done this numerous times.
This is what I was going to ask actually, because I know you've done this, right?
Various aunties, uncles, cousins, and years later I go, how's your Bitcoin doing? Because I'm holding it for them anyway. I fucking know. They're like, oh, I changed phones and I didn't know what that Blockfolio app was. I don't know how I'm doing. I'm like, you got $2,000 in there, dickhead. Like, have I? I'm like, yeah. Do you want it? Oh yeah, I'll have it. Well, you can't. No, you need to hold it for another 5 years.
You can't have it. Not till we're on a Bitcoin standard.
The test was you needed to at least be in the ballpark. Like you haven't got the Blockfolio app on your phone anymore. It's only been 2 years. How the fuck? You changed your phone once and that app didn't make the cut. They auto copy over your cunt.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so annoying. But like you say, this is a suggestion to all of the listeners and watchers. How are you successfully orange pilling your friends and family? So last week, as you know, I was, for those in the know, I hosted, as part of work, the Missing Crypto Queen event. And I managed to get a signed copy from Jamie Bartlett in terms of the book. And crazy story, but for those in the know, Dr. Ruja Ignatova created what was supposed to be the killer app to Bitcoin, which was the OneCoin. Turns out this was a $4 billion Ponzi scheme, lands her as the 11th woman only on the FBI's top 10 wanted list. We believe now that the Bulgarian mafia was involved. And so she may have obviously came up with the scheme, but then they've muscled their way in and said, right, well, we want a piece of this and we're going to protect you. So naturally, she had no recourse to potentially say no to this, and it is where it is. But the point of where I'm going with all of this is that obviously things can get out of hand, but it could easily be adopted by others as well, without them actually necessarily knowing as well.
How many people do you reckon you orange pilled on that day?
About it depends, because I probably came across as quite crazy, because it depends on where they are, with their journey, because I was pretty toxic.
Yeah, I think in reality, I reckon in reality you would have orange pilled 0, but what you have done is, I think it probably takes, I think I've said before, like in marketing terms, it takes 12 interactions with a product until you buy. I think for a Bitcoin orange pill, it might be 100. That genuinely, I really think you need to actually come across Bitcoin 100 times and dismiss it 99 until you finally fucking concede. So what you did there for the 100, 200, 300 people that came up, you were one of those times. So they're one step closer. So who knows? Maybe some of them were on 99, and that was the final one, and it tipped them over, and now they're a Bitcoiner. But for a lot of them, they'd have been on 5 to 10 to 15, and they've still got too many questions. They still think they're smarter than all the Bitcoiners. Like, no, I'm smarter than you. You guys don't get money. I do. That's why I've got my stocks and shares and my pension. Am I fucking sick?
Shots fired.
So you're saying it's 100 interactions. I still think it's those anchors, and I still think it's cutting off specific things. It's understanding Bitcoin, it's understanding money, and it's understanding the history of money. And it's also that final one, which is the realization that this time it is not different. That is like the key one. That is literally, it's all in. And you're going, shit, this has happened, and this is no different. They're just doing it a different way.
Yeah, and don't forget, you've also then got to shake off all of the FUD that is out there as well. So there's a lot of things that people need to go through in order just to get their first coin, or not even coin, just part of a Bitcoin.
Yeah. That's why I just think that the 100 interactions is roughly as like the first 10, you just dismiss it. It just bounces off you. Then the next 10 might be, but is it real money? Like, can you spend it or something? And then you realize, oh, you can. And then the next 10, you're going to be going, well, if inflation's fine. And then maybe you realize it's not. And then you go, well, what about gold? But doesn't it boil the oceans? Oh, no, it doesn't. But doesn't it just fund terrorism? Oh, no, it doesn't. And eventually all your kind of your pushback is just taken down layer by layer by layer. And by the time you get to the 100 interaction, you're out of fucking questions. And you go in, oh, it's proven itself to me now. And but I do think some people, though, I'm still then a bit of a Morpheus in the Matrix, where some people aren't ever ready to wake up. They like their cushy life in the fake clown world where wokeism is real. you can work at home and do no work and just have food turn up at your door and just think you're suffering with mental health. And if 80% of the planet are doing that, then the world can carry on. Like, it can't. Like, that's the world they want to live in. But there's a portion of people that don't. They want to get up, do a good day's work, earn a good living, and they know that you need to burn fossil fuels, you need to do farming, you need to build industry. Humans need to use energy to create a world, and we just want to build families, citadels, look after our children, grow up, have fun. Like, we want to get involved
and eat lots of beef.
Eat all the fucking beef. I had such a nice steak today. Oh, fucking and yeah, that's where we are. So I was thinking, but some people aren't ready though. Some people want, literally, you could pull them out of their pod and they'll go, no, put me back in, and they'll splash back down and shove the freaking thing back in their arm and go back in the matrix. You're like, yeah, you're just gonna die in the fiat world. Fine, see you later.
Yeah, I think on my current one, I've absolutely destroyed his view of fiat. I don't think he ever appreciated the current state, and I've just rattled on and on and on about it. So everything which he says, like about this party will do that or this, it always relates back to fiat with my answer and the problems of it. It's not about Bitcoin. It's just always about the problems and the fact that it's probably caused by inflation.
Yeah.
And he is acknowledging the fact that money is not good.
Yeah, it must hurt as a socialist who wants to give it all to government to do even more.
Yeah, I haven't heard the mention of a UBI for a while. Anyway,
let's get back. Yeah, we went on a huge tangent,
but it's all good. It's all about Bitcoin. So the next one, we're talking about Silk Road, which really is way before our time. So 51,676 Bitcoin seized in relation to Silk Road. So obviously in America land, but this isn't one which I know too much about, and I've had a read about on these articles. So, but I can't see who James Zong is and how he's involved. From what I understand, is he found a flaw in the system of Silk Road and created numerous refunds on money which he didn't put in, and he's ended up with a horrendous amount of Bitcoin which he's hodled for the last 10 or so years.
Yeah, I think he did actually earn just a lot of this through selling drugs on Silk Road. But then, yeah, he did also do a bit of scamming on Silk Road. And obviously, these huge wallets that were attached to Silk Road have been watched very, very closely. So anyone that had a lot of Bitcoin in there would have been terrified to ever use them because they would have gone the way of, oh God, what's his name now? The founder?
Ross Albright.
Ross Albright, that's it.
Yeah.
Who basically got kingpin charges against him and is in prison for like 400 years. And Maxwell
got 17.
Yeah. It shows, doesn't it? Be a paedophile, 17 years, go after the money, 400. So I think he was. He is just, in reality, this guy's probably just quite a low level drug criminal, really. But it just so happens he was doing drug deals on Silk Road back in 2012, 2011, 2013, when Bitcoin was a fraction of the price it is now. So he's ended up having $3.3 billion worth of Bitcoin.
What I don't understand is, what's he still doing in the US?
I know, it's very silly.
If you got $3 billion, get a bit of money out, pay people off, new identities, deaths, whatever else, move to the other side of the world, have plastic surgery, and just live the life of a G.
I know. It doesn't say, there's no detail in this. So ideally what we'd have is a bit more detail, because I would imagine he probably did leave, and it wouldn't surprise me if they tricked him to come back, or who knows, because they're very smart when they do this stuff. And I would imagine
they just snatched him from somewhere.
Yeah. He might have just gone and flown through a jurisdiction or done something, because obviously we know how they got Ross. They basically infiltrated one of his tech admin, and he got him to text him saying there was a problem with Silk Road and it was down. He then rushed to the library where they were all waiting. The second he opened his laptop, 2 FBI agents, a male and a female, pretended to have a domestic altercation. He turned around and then someone else grabbed his laptop off and then they arrested him. And he was logged in as Dread Pirate Roberts in Silk Road, who is the top level admin, and he was sunk. So they're very smart, these guys, especially when they're going after the big boys. So there probably will be a film about how they caught James Zong at some point. I can't imagine it's taken him 10 years, right? If not longer, to get this guy. So he hasn't just been sat and being lazy. He probably did leave the country. And they probably managed to track him down. They followed him around for years, and then they've managed to hatch him into a trap, and then they've sprung it, and now and what seems to be, and this isn't clear in the article, they say they've seized this 50,000 Bitcoin. And what do they mean by that? As in, does this guy have access to this? So now he no longer has access, so they legally have access to it.
Well, reading about it, they got access, and they've had him for a year or so. And he cracked at some point when they saw the Bitcoin move off the wallet. So people were looking into this one. So he said that there was a day, I don't know what the date was, where it actually moved off the wallet to a federal wallet.
Oh, wow. So they actually have seized it properly.
Yeah, so they had him in prison, probably tortured him, and then offered him some deal, and he took it.
Yeah, that'll be it.
In exchange for 3.3 billion. Oh man, if only I really hope he's put a couple of thousand Bitcoin in a couple of other wallets, and that was just, he's lost the big one, but he's still got
somewhere.
He's got 100 milli somewhere else, but I'm sure he's still going to get the book thrown at him, even though he's giving them the Bitcoin. That's the problem.
That's the thing, no matter what, because they've caught him, he's not going to get out of it. So he'll never still see the couple thousand Bitcoin that he may have, split from the main stack.
It'll be more than 17 years.
Yeah. It's a shame. But that also reminds me of like the whole, again, going back to the Dr. Ruja missing crypto queen woman. I think they know, and they're happy to watch and understand the movements of somebody and just wait, because they want to build up a case so watertight that the individual cannot get out of it once they do decide to pounce.
Yeah, the problem is we live in such a surveillance world right now. Unless you're living 100% on Bitcoin and using Lightning transactions, but the second you go into the financial world and have packages sent to your address or whatever, like it's just IP addresses, phone numbers. It's just, there's so much information they'd ever had around those Silk Road interactions. Yeah. They just waited for someone to trip up into one of them. And then the second you do, bang, they're like, let's go follow this guy. And then they'd have started building a case and gone, yeah, it's him. It's just that we live in such a surveillance land where if the powers that be target you for a crime that you did commit, they 100% will get you if they can be bothered.
Yes, 100%.
The only time they don't get you is because they can't be bothered. It's not worth their time. But
that
this guy,
and bribes.
What's that?
That and bribes.
Oh, yeah.
Or connections.
Yeah, bribes, connections. Because I feel like, you can just imagine it, can't you? There will be certain people that will continue to protect you for a price, and you can continue going about your average daily business without doing so. But that price will continue to rise, and you'll continue to have to feed the wolves until the wolves just, continue to eat you alive, essentially, and you have to capitulate. But either way, you're stuck. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Cool. Then. Should we move on to you guys' pet topic, AML and KYC?
Hey,
I'm sure.
Yes.
So this is a nice little video from two guys. It's Eric and weirdly the CEO of FTX. and Sam Bankman-Fried. And for pro-regulation, it is Sam, the CEO, and anti-regulation, it is Eric. And his proposition is, should we have KYC and AML for email? Because you can absolutely talk to terrorists, you can plan terrorist attacks, all through email. So I'm going to throw that question out to you guys.
Isn't it funny how you had this so lined up as a clip last week, and then the comments, and I'll read for those that haven't or don't necessarily read the show notes. First of all, it says, wait till the end. But hashtag FTX CEO has lost the plot, in my opinion. This guy does not deserve what crypto has to offer. I'd be very careful about anything this guy touches. He should not do interviews either. Now, did we potentially stumble across, essentially
pre-warning?
Pre-warning, yeah.
Well, I did think when I watched this, because obviously Sam is, he's been donating to political parties. He seems very pro-regulation. I honestly thought he was a government plant. I thought he was someone that was trying to take over crypto and make it into the old financial world, which is just the same rails, technically using a blockchain. But it was a matter of time until FTX started pushing CBDCs and all that. And I genuinely thought, because watching this interview, he clearly is very pro regulation. But then when he's confronted with, okay, all the things that they say you can do with money, you can do with email. You can organize various terrorist plots, you can organize pedophilia, you can spread hate, you can do whatever you want on email, but we don't KYC and AML everyone that does email. And he's like, absolutely not. That was it's an infringement on our freedoms and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he just goes, well, why doesn't that apply to financial transactions then? Yeah. And I'll play the clip from there.
Why does that not apply to financial transactions?
So, why does it not apply to financial transactions? I think there are a few things here.
You heard that, right?
I didn't really
just heard the music. Don't know, was it just me?
Oh, right. It might have been a bit quiet. But basically, he didn't have an answer, and then it plays the Curb Your Enthusiasm music at the end, which is just
okay.
He's literally looking at the floor, going, it does it needs it because and obviously every Bitcoiner's answer is it needs it for the exact same reason as you would do the KYC and AML on email address, because you want it for surveillance, you want it for control, you want it for tax purposes. You're not trying to stop the terrorism or the fraud or the hate speech. That is the cover. You don't, because all that happens on email. But what doesn't happen on email? The transmission of money, where money should be taxed, and they want to know where it's going. That is their precious fiat that they printed out of thin air, admittedly, but they want to make sure you don't have too much of it. And if you do have too much of it, they want their 20, 30, 40, 50%. So you can say what you want, but they want their money. And that is why KYC and AML exist on financial transactions. It doesn't happen on email. And that guy trying to defend it and say it's good for crypto that it's regulated for KYC and AML, he couldn't articulate it because he destroyed his own argument.
Yeah. It is funny you say that as well, because you're so right. If they really wanted to do and perform KYC AML, then they would look at source of funds and source of wealth, as opposed to the identity of an individual to claim that that's your customer. Now, those things are possible, but they are not often done.
But if you look at it all, like the reason why you reject it on email is it's an infringement on your freedom and your privacy.
Yeah.
That's just even further invasion of your privacy, right? Like, why do they need to know this stuff? And when they go to stop terrorism and fraud, you go fuck yourself. It isn't for that. It's because you're scared I'm not going to pay my taxes. And you want to look at my money, where it's going. That is the real reason. And that's why we should be saying no to this stuff. And why it's just so funny, the fact that this clip was lined up last week, and then today, Mr. Regulation himself didn't regulate his own company, went bust and sold it to his competitor in an hour. What a cunt. Regulation doesn't. So we've had this numerous times. It needs to be more regulated. No, it fucking doesn't. When people go bad, it doesn't matter what regulations exist because they ignore them. Like the regulations, all they do is they hamper good people and create surveillance. When CEOs go rogue, like what's happened here, their customers all lose their money on the exchange. They've got lucky this time because another exchange has come in and bailed them out. But when CZ does this and he goes rogue and loses all their money, doesn't matter how regulated he is or isn't. The money's going to go, just be gone. And nothing can be done about that. It's the same what happened to the banks. Banks are really regulated. They lost all the money. Anyway, I don't. And if any of you guys are going to try and give a pro and like a devil's advocate reason as to why regulation is good.
Sounds like you don't. Sounds like you don't like freedom and democracy.
I am actually, and the reason why I will is simply because the majority of the masses will want some form of regulation, so it will make them feel comfortable that they are doing the right thing. And when they know that they are doing the right thing, then they will deposit. So we will bring the masses along. I also think institutions, within order to sign off, will need regulation as well. Now, this isn't to say that having regulation is good. It's just simply that it'll make them feel comfortable to be able to then go on and deposit in large chunks.
My counterpoint to that straight away would be, I've referred numerous people to various exchanges. Every single one's come back to me and going, they're asking me for my driving license. It feels like a scam. Why are they doing that? And I have to then explain to them, this is the same as when you sign up for a bank account. But guess what? Most people have never signed up for a bank account. Their mum and dad did it for them when they were freaking 15. And they're scared to give their driving license over. So I would argue almost the opposite. I don't think people know what KYC or AML is. I think we've been in the industry, and I think we think it reassures the general public. But in reality, when you speak to people on the ground, every time they give their driver license or passport and type that into an app, they don't like it. And I think it does the opposite of reassurance. I think it scares them. Because it's just another company to lose it, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. It is. But I don't think that many people, if you put out an article saying Bitcoin now regulated, as opposed to it being non-regulated in the wild, wild west, more non-coiners will get into the space as opposed to not as they are right now.
Maybe. But if I say Bitcoin for freedom-loving, self-sovereign individuals, or Bitcoin for regulated NPCs, then those regulated NPCs can go down a ditch. I don't want them in Bitcoin anyway.
Yeah, you might not necessarily want them in the with us. I guess ultimately the only reason I say for the pros for regulation is that it will bring the masses, because the masses are the ones who haven't been prepared to put the work in to read the Bitcoin standard, understand what money is, or listen to our 99 claims of what money is, and they've just batted them away.
Yeah, that
one thing alone will probably tip them over the edge a lot easier than anything anyone on our call or any other of our episodes will do for them, because they'll be like, oh, that sounds trustworthy, and then go ahead with it.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
You put up an argument. I respect the argument. I'm not buying it, but I respect the argument.
Yeah.
How about inflation weekly?
Ooh.
Getting hard on just thinking about it.
Oh.
We have two as well.
Double. double.
Oh, and my favorite.
We've not really talked about Elon, have we?
And my favorite woman in the world, Lagarde.
Just above Pelosi.
Yeah.
I don't know who's worse.
Pelosi has a great rap.
Yeah, she does. And her husband loves Grinder.
We didn't cover that, like the whole story behind this break-in.
I know it was on here, but I've had to trim it off because I like the kind of gossip kind of column that was for last week, and then we had proper chunky stuff in here. So we actually try to keep it on Bitcoin stuff.
So there's a nice clip. I think it's from when her name's Christine Lagarde, isn't it? I forgot what her forename was then. She said that inflation comes from nowhere. So I think she was in an Irish talk show, and she came out with this. And I kind of looked at this and I went, she's not stupid. She's part of the boys' club, isn't she? But it's the fact that some people will believe her that it just came from nowhere and it's due to greedy suppliers. It's down to Russia, Ukraine. It's down to China. It's down to COVID. It's down to this and that. And it's just like, it's the fact that you printed so much money. You know, it's not that this big fucking dragon came out of nowhere and burnt down the shit. It's the fact that you made money less scarce by printing so much. So it's what, 30, 40% over a couple of years you've printed. And the Eurozone's only hit 10 to 15% so far. So you know that's going to double. We're going into year 2 now. So for anyone like kind of debating that, what we're seeing as a CPI average is over 12 months. So this 10%, or in the Netherlands, which is 15%, is over 12 months. And it hasn't slowed down. So on month, say 7, it was 15. On month 8, it was 15. On month 9, it was 15. On month 10. And what that means is it's not actually just going into 1 year. That's now up to 15 months where you've got an average of 15%. Then that expands to 18 months and it's 20, 24. So you've actually got 2 lots and you've actually got a massive amount of inflation there. And it's not just, we kept it at bay at 15%. Your money is being inflated over 2 fiscal years at 15%, well, devalued. Your money hasn't been inflated. Your money has been devalued twice at 15%. Yeah. And it's just phenomenal that a politician says he didn't see it coming.
Yeah, well, she's the head of the European Bank, isn't she? And literally, she says the inflation crisis. She doesn't even give the excuses you gave there. She said She said it came out of pretty much nowhere.
That's the key one. I was just waiting for you to say it. Came out of pretty much nowhere, when really we know, and we've been talking about it for nearly 2 years now, about inflation, but obviously we've been talking about it for years before that as a collective. It's been coming from the money printing.
Yeah, because you've either got she's incompetent, which we know she isn't, because she will have studied money. She will know this happened. It happened in Roman times. It happened in Chinese times. It happened in the 70s when they first got the money printer out. Or it's B, she knows what they did, but either doesn't really care because she either benefits so much, or it really is. The really scary part is part of the Great Reset, where they're really going for it to destroy all your assets and income.
Yeah, it's that one, unfortunately, because if you look back, and we did this, I think, on one of the pods, we look back over Christine Lagarde's history. She's a known fraudster in the banking sector. She got caught doing mass fraud in the banking sector. And I can guarantee she took a plea deal to go, we will let you run the European bank, but you run it as we say. And we won't give you a prison sentence. This is what everybody in these high politicians, head of the banks, the people that are on the front lines that sometimes were born good, and then turned bad, they've got dirt on them, and it's big dirt. And it comes with heavy fines and long prison sentences. And then they get people like her up there just spouting complete and utter lies, because that's the script she's been told.
She isn't even trying, is she?
No, it's a joke at how bad. She must just be going for the incompetence route, which is we don't know what we're doing. And so I think it works. I think the general public like thinking they're smarter than the banks and the politicians and go, are there a bunch of clowns ruining the economy? Or we're voting some more different clowns and maybe they'll fix it. Because it completely, if it's incompetence, it's not your fault, right? It's just I'm just an idiot. Maybe you should get a different head of the bank. But you can't prosecute me. You couldn't do it on purpose. But they have done it on purpose. Like, she's a very smart woman. She knows exactly what she's doing, but she's a fraudster. Fundamentally, this woman is a criminal, and she's now head of the European Bank. She got promoted after being found to be a fraudster, and is now defrauding the whole of Europe to their face and saying, "Don't know what's going on."
Yeah, at its best, it's stealing the money of the citizens, and it's worse. It's a precursor for the Great Reset. Yeah. You've got two options. It's not incompetence, and it's just the fact that people will accept it. If you had someone say she came on this show for whatever reason, she's feeling a bit suicidal. She said, "Oh, we didn't say it came from nowhere." She'd get absolutely fucking ripped to shreds. You'd ask her all the awkward questions, but the talk show host of whoever it was would have just been like, "Oh, but how can we rectify it? Oh, we've got our controls. We can bring up the interest rate. We can print more money." It's just like, well, you can print more money because you printed too much money.
Yeah, and it's obviously they always do these interviews where they seem to go terribly badly, but they're still friendly. It's still set questions. No one's really digging in, going, "This is either gross incompetence or a controlled demolition of the economy where you're trying to convert us to socialism. The fuck are you guys doing? This is very serious, and we need you removed from power ASAP and put someone responsible in that puts the brakes on the money printing." That's the kind of questioning that I would like to see someone like Christine Lagarde go through, but she doesn't. They ever give them like a Monday 5 o'clock presenter that's used to do Love Island, and they give them 5 questions that they just read from, and you go,
and they don't understand the context.
But she's done a bad job here, and therefore shown herself up here.
She hasn't, because she hasn't done a bad job. She's done the best out of a shit situation. She said, "I'm incompetent. Feel sorry for me. I'm human. I make mistakes." She hasn't said, "I just stole all your fucking money. Deal with it."
To be fair, it is the best she could do, is to say, "I'm incompetent." That is the best outcome for them.
Yeah, so I think she's actually done a good job. And like Mr. Rollins says, they've just given it to someone who doesn't understand the subject and asked us some shitty questions which are pre-agreed by the big bosses.
Do you think her saying that she's incompetent was also pre-agreed?
Of course. What's the best outcome? It's either A, it's going to plan. Well, what's going to plan? You're stealing money off us. You're getting ready for a Great Reset, or you just like making everyone poor. It's the best outcome. "Oh, I'm sorry. I hold my hands up. Everyone makes mistakes." Oh, it's okay, Christine. You go back. Try to keep inflation below 15% next year. "I'll try, but it's really hard. I can't stop printing. I'm that fucking inflation dragon."
I'm waiting for her to pull out the fact that, like, "Oh, I'm a woman. Be nice to me."
Yes. Yeah.
That is another reason, I swear, like, where sometimes they either put up clown type people or women, and then I think it's just the public tends to go easier on them. I don't know. And
I was going to say, I do think she will get an easier ride.
But the majority of people,
it goes over everyone's head.
When someone, if you ask the average person, got them to watch that interview, and then just went, "Oh, so the cost of living crisis. This is the woman that is largely responsible for it. She's the head of the European Bank and one of the key people of the economy. What do you think at the end of that?" They'd have gone, "All right, yeah, they fucked it, didn't they? Yeah, oh well."
Yeah, I suppose one thing which comes out of this is, with all the lockdowns, they brought in furlough and whatever stimmy payments. So it's a basic UBI, wasn't it? and it's just shown it doesn't work. It's caused mass inflation. So you put UBI as a permanent, which is always rumored to happen in the WEF. So they basically you get your free money from the government. They've got control over you. So you keep working, but oh yeah, you get an extra £500 because we're so nice. But the fact is that you pay that back in future. So if you think about that, it's accelerating that inflation from 2% to a good 10% every year. So you want to buy those, I don't know, special dinners every week. They're going to go up, phenomenally out of your grasp within 3 years. And it's people not understanding basic economics and calling for UBI. And this is, a prime example of what's happened. We've got coming up to 30% inflation across the Eurozone. And if you put that across every single year, it stacks up when you compound, and you end up with people not being able to afford the luxuries which they want. And by the time which it's hit that, it's too late.
I need these luxuries. I need this soy latte.
I need this mochaccino.
Yeah.
We're looking at you.
Spice
this is no show. But anyway, I've had my fun on that inflation, so let's move on to the next one, which I wouldn't really class as an inflation weekly. It's just a bit of a lull.
Oh no, it's a great inflation one, man, because this is exactly the same thing, although instead of saying incompetence, this time they're just trying to pretend it's not even happening. So the White House tweeted, seniors are getting the biggest increase in their Social Security checks in 10 years through President Biden's leadership. And fair play to Mr. Elon Musk, who has the new fact checkers around, although he calls them added context. And he goes, seniors will receive a large Social Security benefit increase due to the annual cost of living adjustment, which is based on the inflation rate. And in response to this, the White House delete the tweet. And then Elon replying to it going, the system is working. Because they're calling them on their shit. That is literally...
It's happened on a number of Joe Biden's tweets as well.
Yeah, and it's fantastic because the government are literally lying, saying they're putting certain benefits up by record amounts. And all they're doing, it's still behind inflation. These benefits are still going down. Like inflation might be 15% and they're putting them up 10%, which means it's the biggest rise in 10 years. But they're still 5% down. But and fair play to Elon going around going, just to call you on your shit, you put it up by 10%, but the value of money's gone down by 15%. So they're still technically poorer.
But it's a measure as well, because I think they cut the visibility of the M2 money supply, which is what people were judging the amount of inflation by, whereas this is a prime one. So you know how much someone's benefit has increased over a year. It's the absolute minimum inflation of what's happened in the US. And it's just called it out to the general public. And, a lot of people have gone click on that. So I thought it was more of a lull than an inflation one, but it's just, it's absolutely great. Cool. What are they going to get Elon for, though, to get him on their side?
I was going to say, I think he might need to be careful because they will try to bring him down somehow. Just like we were talking about the FBI earlier on. You start to go after them and they'll quickly turn around and try to go after you.
Oh, there's so many attacks on Twitter already. That literally there's a list of companies that have all terminated their sponsorship and advertising deals with Twitter. There's a list of about 100 companies on there right now. And if you look at the ownership of those 100 companies, BlackRock and Vanguard are the majority shareholders of all of them. What a fucking surprise for anyone that followed our great reset episode.
But if it continues like the current trend, and he brings in like
he's
subscription, I'll probably be like, you know what? Because it's actually being run properly, I might pay it.
Well, Elon is going to like they're trying to hurt him, but he's got infinite money. Like he's the fucking richest guy on the planet. But they're going to try and hurt him a lot, and they're kind of cut off all his resources. But I've already seen his plan. He's released a load of tweets. You're going to try and make it more like YouTube and make it where the more subscribers you have, you can monetize them. They cut you in on the ad revenue. So, because at the moment, Twitter doesn't cut you in on the ad revenue, right? So he wants you to pay certain things. So he wants the majority of people to pay. But the people that have huge followings, just like on YouTube, it's the same model, right? I pay for YouTube to have the ads removed. So I'm a payer there and I get no ads. But then I watch people that have millions of subscribers and they're millionaires off the back of it. That should be the same with Twitter. If you have millions of followers, your tweet should be able to be monetized. They should be able to show ads to the people that don't pay. They see ads, they click them. You give a cut of that ad to the user. It's not very fucking hard. And that's all Elon's going to say he's going to do. And that's going to push so many influencers into Twitter land. They're going to start building up their followings. They're going to start pushing random products and monetization and Everything that happens on YouTube is going to come to Twitter. And you can just see that his little 44 billion baby is going to grow to this 440 billion behemoth because it's fucking Elon.
Yeah, he's not stupid. And what I particularly love from Elon at the moment is him destroying AOC all the time.
Yeah, he just keeps going $8. She's like writes like a 5-tweet thread about why he's such a monster. And he's like $8.
That'll be $8 now.
He's good. You still owe me $8. Like no matter how much you moan, you owe me $8 left.
Yeah, he is great. Right.
Okay, so we were talking about at the start of the show FTX limiting withdrawals, but they've taken that play out of the traditional banks because Santander, in our next article, talks about limiting withdrawals.
Yeah, but only to one place, though.
Where you can off ramp to get on ramp to Bitcoin as well, right?
So with this one, I saw the thread, and my response within the thread was get Revolut account, transfer it to Revolut, then put it over to Coinbase.
Yeah.
Because my primary account isn't Revolut, but I do use it. So I kind of like ping it over to Revolut, then I ping it over to Coinbase because you do get blocks every so often otherwise. So I do it as a matter of course. And I thought I'd just share it because you can get a free Revolut account and it's pretty cool. They leave you alone to do whatever you want with your crypto. Just don't store it on a Revolut app if you do buy it there.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend not to buy it on Revolut really because it's quite hard because they again have the restrictions on how much you can withdraw. Just send it to Coinbase and then withdraw it straight to your hardware wallet. But yeah, at the moment, obviously, at the moment, it's what they've done here because I've got a Santander account and I've sent large amounts of money from Santander to various exchanges. And but yeah, they're limiting it to £1,000 per transaction and a total limit of 3,000 in any rolling 30-day period. Hilariously, if you have a shit ton of money on an exchange and want to withdraw it to Santander, they'll happily receive it. They just won't let it go back out again. So you could withdraw £1 million from a Bitcoin exchange and send it to Santander. All gravy, no questions asked. Send 2,000 in one day from your Santander account to Bitcoin exchange, and you'll get blocked and probably flagged as a fraudster. So the main reason why this article is really here is it's just a worrying sign, right? Because this is the first big bank at the moment. Who gives a shit really? It's one bank. There's plenty of others. If you've got money in Santander, move it to Barclays, move it to Revolut, move it to whoever you want, and then send it on from there. But what if they all do it? What if this becomes the standard and they're limiting the outflow from fiat into Bitcoin? Because this would do it, right? This would stop people putting their life savings in. This now, all you can do is a DCA, like the average type of DCA that people would do. Probably, to be fair, the upper limit of a DCA. But if you want
1K every day. Well, actually, it's 3K over 30 days. So
3K a month basically is the limit.
3K a month is
that's a big limit. DCA, like I said. But it's like if you've got 50, 60, 100, 200K worth of fiat, or a pension or whatever, and you want to convert it into Bitcoin, you would say you had 200K of savings. You know, you're 40, 50 years old, and you want to convert your 200K of some stocks and shares. You want to put it into Bitcoin, and you can do it 3K a month. It's going to take you decades to get that in. So you're essentially not going to do it really, are you? Because you're going to have to figure out something else. So this is one of the problems, right? This is fiat coming for us. This is why Bitcoin
is there any way
resistant.
around this, by the way, in your thoughts and opinion?
A way around it?
Obviously, you've got other banks to off-ramp.
Well, I suppose you've got the secondary account, but you've also got moving your business to another bank totally, because that is a complete, you know, if you're going to limit me and tell me what I can do with my money, then I'm not going to have anything to do with you. So it's using the challenger banks like Monzo and Revolut, who do allow this kind of action. Because the fact is,
if everybody had the same kind of broad,
you'd have to go peer to peer.
Yeah.
So you'd literally have to go onto some peer to peer website which isn't blocked, and then find an individual on there willing to do a deal, and then you just send them a transaction. So then it would just look like you're sending someone some money. You're sending someone 10 grand, and they wouldn't block that necessarily. They might ask what it is, and you just lie and go and buy a car, and in reality you're buying some Bitcoin, and the transaction will go through. But it's very easy, obviously, to ban the Bitcoin exchange addresses as a piece of piss.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's worrying news for the UK. I think the more stories I hear about us being the pioneer of CBDCs, the pioneer of UBI, fucking Rishi coming to power, this now happening, very worrying signs for the UK. I think we might well be one of the test beds for this horrible new financial world.
You've also got another angle on this. Lynn Alden commented on this story, and it was alternate title: bank limits outflows towards its competition.
Yeah, well, we know that's the reason, right? Yeah. They're not doing it to protect people. Again, it's like KYC and AML. Like, they're going to say it's to stop fraud, it's to stop financial crime, it's all this type of stuff. That would be exactly the reason. I haven't even read why Santander have done that. I don't even need to, because I know it's lies. Yeah. The reason they're doing it is because they don't want people to convert fiat into Bitcoin. It's just
correct. It's less money for them that will be deposited or left with them.
Yeah, it's like if you had to take a taxi to go get an Uber. Like, clearly the taxi would say no, wouldn't he? He'd be like, I'm not dropping you off there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just cool. Last story of the week.
It's a bloody big story, though.
I was going to say.
It's a highly relevant one. We've talked through little bits of the points on every part of it, every part of the show about this. It all leads towards this story, so it's a good one to end with. So everyone must have heard the problems with Lebanon at the moment. It's bankrupt. You can't get your money out the banks. And this is a big, long story on CNBC of all websites, which really surprised me.
Me.
Yeah, talking about people using Tether, Bitcoin, not being able to get the money out, the government making silly mistakes, which led towards this. And it's just kind of going, this is so relatable. And it's on CNBC, which is a real big government shill website. So they're buying groceries with Tether, and some kind of like backgrounds. It was rebuilt after 1990, I think, Civil War, where they basically invited in investors to store their money as a kind of like tax haven. But it all started to go tits up in 2019 as they plunged into financial crisis. Which was following decades of expensive wars and bad spending decisions. Sounds familiar? Afghanistan, Iraq, track and trace, HS1, HS2. Sounds, really, really familiar. And the debt to GDP ratio as well.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And it talked for a few individuals. So there's a guy called Gabriel. So he was an architect. He lost his job during the financial crisis.
Yeah.
But today, half his income is from freelance work, and 90% of that is paid in Bitcoin. So this is because the issue is, if they put it into a bank, then if they want to get it into the local currency, I think to withdraw it, they lose. It was like 2%, then it went to 4%, then it went to 10%. I think it's like 20% they lose in the value. If they want to get into American dollars, they're paying a premium So I think it's like 35%. So, here it is. Actually, the quote: "The situation hasn't really changed since 2019. Banks limited withdrawals, and those deposits become IOUs. You could have taken out your money with 15% haircut, then 35%, and today we're at 85%. So that's even the depreciated currency. So, and when he talks about his parents, so they're both career government employees, and they're still holding out hope that the existing financial system will right size at some point. So we've talked about this, about things which I won't go into detail, but it is a sunk fallacy. You know, that is literally the definition of it. Yeah. And there's another bit here. The bank's got an influx of cash. So this is 1990 to 2019. Depositors saw their balances swiftly grow, and the government went on an undisciplined spending spree. So once again, track and trace. HS1, HS2. You've got $6,000 a night stays in London for a prime minister while they're going to a funeral. Private airplanes for government officials. You know, it's happening everywhere. And once again, that debt to GDP ratio is going up every single year.
What do you think is the answer?
Tether. You see, what's interesting about this is people have gone to Tether. So it's what Mr. Allin said earlier. It's like the dominoes, all the currencies fall into the US dollar. So like, well, Tether is a cryptocurrency. It's tied to the US dollar. It's just a way of transferring out. But you're reliant upon, so great, you're moving away from, what is it, thousands of percents of inflation, but instead you're moving to 20% per year devaluation over the last 2 years by moving to the US dollar. So how is that the answer? But the issue which you'll always get is, Bitcoin's too volatile. But is Bitcoin too volatile versus 1,000% decline?
Yeah, it's like
exactly.
Fiat is already 99.7% down, going down by 15% a year, guaranteed. So I guess at least the volatility is guaranteed. 15% down every year.
Yeah.
What you've got as well is here, another point is the era of easy money fell off a cliff in October 2019 when the government proposed a flurry of taxation, everything from gas to tobacco to WhatsApp calls. So national insurance being hiked up. You've got the proposal around removing a 40% tax break from pensions, cutting it to 20%. You know, we're starting to see little cracks, aren't we? And it's all scarily relatable to the UK. And even to the US, even to the US at points. You know,
go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, whilst people are going to be like, but Bitcoin, it's volatile, I think you've got to spread your bets at some point. Like, you haven't got to be 100% like Mr. All-In, but Dr. 10% says 10%. You've got to have 10% in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And anyone that thinks so, because literally what are you going to do, right? Because Bitcoin is volatile, right? Okay, fine. But fiat is volatile. Right? Like the stocks are volatile. Just everything is volatile. Right? Amazon and Tesla have been down 20%, 30% this week. These are the biggest companies in the world. Everything right now, guess what? We're about to hit a financial crisis that is the biggest we've probably ever seen, because the money amounts have got bigger and the populations have got bigger, and basically the stacks that we're betting are bigger. So the downfall is going to be harder. So everything is going to be in a fucking tumble dryer getting smashed about. But what you want to make sure at the end of the tumble dryer, when you put your hand back in, do you have anything left? And with Bitcoin, you're going to know you still got your Bitcoin. You're going to at least have custody. You're not going to know the value of it necessarily, but you know you got your Bitcoin. Will you have your stocks? Probably not. Will you have your pension? Almost definitely not. Will you have your fiat? You might have it in value, but will it buy anything now? Probably not. So this is the thing.
So here's a couple of things about fiat. So we're talking about, but you can rely upon government. The government will sort this out with the financial system. So another guy, El Chama, says that he's grown since accustomed to withdrawing money from his bank account at a bad rate of 10 to 15% of its original worth. Then we got the bank stopped withdrawals and exchanges then reopened and only did it for above market rate. So what does that say about your fiat?
Yeah.
It's not yours.
No, of course it's not. The bank owns that.
And then here's an even more ridiculous one, a former member of parliament. So there's been a load of videos which have gone around with people holding up banks. A former member of parliament held up a bank to try and get at their money for medical expenses. A former member of parliament.
Yeah. And the thing I'd say to everyone, right, is don't think Lebanon is a unique case.
That's what I was going to say.
It was the Paris of the Middle East. It was
coming everywhere.
A good place.
It's coming here. It's coming to the UK.
Yeah.
People will be. Yeah. We'll have doctors, politicians with guns in our banks trying to get their own money out.
Yeah.
That is coming. Whether it's this year, next year, in 5 years, or 10 years, it's coming because the pound will fail, and once the currency fails, that is the ultimate domino. Everything else falls behind that because the government is underpinning so much of the public services through this fake money that it all comes tumbling down. The banks fail, the health services fail, the education fails, and everyone starts to go a little bit crazy. And once the vultures are in there, all just grabbing the scraps, by the time the average pleb gets in, there's nothing left. There's just bones. So people go to extreme lengths and literally will walk into their own bank and try and rob them with a gun just to get their money out. And that's what we're seeing in Lebanon. And this is the canary in the coal mine. The canary's just died.
I do look
only hold, just as I say with exchanges, only hold as much money on there as you're willing to lose. In bank accounts, only hold as much money in there that you're willing to lose. Because when this stuff happens, it happens fast. If you've got a lot of money in there now, don't be surprised if it disappears one day.
Like you said, I do try to think what it will be like when that happens and how the UK public will react. So we are typically, I say, not a gun society, not anywhere near, of course, the likes of the US, but I do think that we'll get to that stage. And initially it'll be like, oh my gosh, it's just a one-off incident, blah, blah.
The anti-protest laws will be brought in before then. And you'll be shot at. It'll be part of the allowances. But if you protest, you get shot by someone who can have a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what they're trying to do is convert us to a CBDC before this happens here as well.
And then they've got ultimately your methadone on tap. So if you don't behave, you don't get your methadone.
Yeah, and it won't be. I think it removes the branches as well. It removes the banks a little bit. It gets them out of the firing line because you just go, it's just an app. It's a government app with your money on.
Yeah.
And one day it gets frozen or your money doesn't buy as much. And you just go, don't worry, just click the support button and lodge a ticket. Like, well, that isn't fucking going to do anything.
We'll do an audit of all your transactions whilst we're here.
Well, yeah, but in reality, like I must admit, I think when it comes to like surveillance, they probably don't care. You just go, hold on, I had 100 grand with you, and now my 100 grand only buys a loaf of bread. What the fuck? I want to storm the place and get my money out and just what? But then they're like, there's nowhere to storm, mate. It's in an app. It's on the blockchain.
I think it'll be two different things on this. It'll be to stop inflation to go to suppliers so the government can print as much money as they want for their families. It'll be to cut off the suppliers who start keeping up with inflation. That's why CBDCs are really being brought in, and also for your control element. So literally you've got the two-pronged attack to basically, so the government then become pretty much a dictatorship. And you can get in your pod and enjoy eating your bugs and soy. But as a real positive for Lebanon, not only have they got all these issues, but IMF is in town. So not only are they in massive civil unrest, they're also going to be a really, truly fucked third world country soon.
Yeah. I must admit, like, as much as we're worried about it coming here.
On.
Yeah, no, it's because it is, but it is really sad. This is why, like, Bitcoin it's hard to sometimes make it light and airy and like have all the bans, because fiat is killing millions every day, and it's just going to continue to destroy economies, destroy families, and so many people don't see it coming. It's this massive tidal wave coming behind them, and it just smashes them. And these people have been working their entire lives. I can't even think what it must be like to be 70, 80 years old in Lebanon right now. You've worked your entire life, you've done well, you've built up a nest egg, and you think you're going to look after yourself and potentially your kids and maybe even your grandkids as well. And then overnight, it's just gone. And you just, what happened? I worked my life for that, and it's gone through no fault of mine. I even stored it in the place that was the safest. I didn't invest it. I just put it in the bank, and the bank stole it. And it's so sad. And yeah, normally we leave on an uplifting little jokey story, but this one's a proper sad one.
I was going to say the positives are that people are resorting to mining Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies by using the cheap energy over there because they can't afford to charge much for electricity, otherwise no one would buy it. And also hydroelectricity. So there's a couple of stories at the end, and it's saying that in the Middle East, Lebanon is second to Turkey for crypto usage. I didn't realize Turkey was so high, considering that their president made everything illegal several times.
I think, yeah, people have just converted to it regardless because they need to.
Yeah.
But it's not regulated. If anything, it's anti-regulated. Don't they feel in the regulation?
It is all the case studies. We've covered a lot in various case studies for tonight, and we've got the one of runaway inflation. People, well, I think Saifedean, someone tried to argue with him on Twitter, what's the use case for Bitcoin? He's like, Lebanon.
And he is Lebanon.
Saved my wealth. Sorry?
He is from Lebanon as well, Saifedean.
Yeah, exactly. And he just absolutely ruined them with that point. And it's
because everyone lives in America or Europe, and they're like, it's fine, like 15%. Okay, it's not great, but it's fine. You go, it's just how it starts, dude. It gets worse, and when it starts to get to 20, 30, 50, 100, then you're going to be crying, and we're trying to help you now. So either jump on board now, or you'll get Bitcoin at the price you deserve, which will be 20, 30x higher than this.
Yeah, just need to move to El Salvador, convince the family to move.
Tell them.
Yeah, true.
Be a Bitcoin alpha male. You moving, bitch.
Well, there we have it. This was pod number 73, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and she was here, but she's never here. You know who I mean, Mrs. No Show.